Hey, what's up, guys? So this is part two of the Tailwind tutorial series, and we're just going to be talking about how that we're going to be building a simple website using just HTML and Tailwind CSS. So I recommend watching my previous video because you have a basic understanding of what of Tailwind CSS after watching the previous video. This video is going to jump straight into action. We're not going to waste a lot of time with setup and the likes of that. So join me as we go into the world of Tailwind CSS and stick around to the end of the video because I have some important announcement to make. So yeah. Alright guys, so let's start with this tutorial. Very quickly, we're going to start with designing the navbar, which is one of the first things you see on any website. So we're going to quickly start this. First thing, we're going to start with a header tag. Obviously, the header tag is usually used to group elements that appear first on a web page, as you can see, introductory elements, content for its nearest ancestor. Well, okay, so let's move on quickly. And I like to use a section, or no, rather, I'll use a nav class. And for now, I'm just going to give the nav class, I'm going to give it a max width of 6xl. Now, I'm sure we're wondering what exactly this whole thing means. Now, I hover over it. Now, isn't something max width 72 rem. Now, this thing you are seeing here right now is coming from Tailwind. This is a Tailwind utility, max width 6xl. 6xl representing a screen size. That is, we have 5xl, we have 4xl. Now, as each of these values reduce, it also corresponds and this value reduces. So if you go into the CSS file and check this out very quickly, you'll see something similar here, max width. It's a bit far. Okay, here we can see it max width. So this is just setting the max width of the navbar. Next thing we're just going to do now is I just want to set, for now, I'll set a background color of white, or no, I'll make it a background color of purple temporarily. I'm not planning on leaving this as the background color for now, and let's see what that brings up for us. So here goes nothing. All right, so one more thing I forgot to tell you guys is this. So as you can see, as I make changes here, you notice that the file is rebuilding automatically. There's actually a command you need to use for that, and that is actually npx tailwind css I base.css o styles.css, and this w command is the main thing. It means watch. Now let me explain this command. Let me break it down. Npx as input. You're passing in base.css as an input to tailwind css. If you go to your base.css here, you see this, which is basically a way of importing tailwind core components, the base, the components, and the utilities. I will put a link in the documentation if you want to read more on how that works. And the next thing is O, which is the output file. That is where the processed code is generated into. That's the styles.css. And the W command is the most important. It allows you to, rather than having to run this command manually all the time, whenever there's a change detected in your HTML file, the W command Tailwind automatically rebuilds the file. So that's that about that. So now, once again, I'm going to quickly go over what this is. BG Purple 500. Now, in Tailwind, we have a bunch of utility classes. That is, there's a format of, you know, writing out different things. For instance, when you want to specify background, you start with BG. BG, obviously, more or less like an acronym for background. BG, you put a dash, purple. Now, you can see we have 500. There are different shades. Let me show you quickly. Here's what I'm saying. BG purple, you could have 100, you could have 200, you could have as much as, I think, 800. Yeah, we have as much as 800, but I just want to try with 500. Now, the next parameter I put here is MX Auto. What MX Auto does is it centers the nav in the on the web page. That is, this is just saying margin left or two, margin right or two, and h is just the height. These things are just logical parts. H stands for height, W stands for width. We'll eventually get to how padding works, and I give the height of 2.5 rem. So let's see how that looks. Now, as you can see, we have a bar in the middle of the page. This just looks, probably doesn't look great, but we're still going to work on it. So let's go further into this. So remember, this is not the full project yet. I just want to give you a brief overview, then we'll go into the project proper with well designed menu bar. So let me just put in some elements. So I think I want to increase the height of this a little bit. Let's make this h12, I believe, and save that, and let's check it out. And this is increased. So the next thing I just want to try out is, let's try to put some elements in here. Okay, so yeah guys, let's start out with that div. So let's just start by declaring a div. So now there's actually a kind of method of writing out this to make things faster. This is actually enhanced because I have the Tailwind plugin installed. So this is how it works. For those of us familiar with Emmet abbreviations, so we start with the dots, then we start with something like flex. For those of us familiar with flex, we should know what flex does exactly. And flex dots, let's just say dot flex. Let's start with this. And now, all right, so this is how this works. I think we should pause a little bit with the short method I was trying to talk about. It might be a bit confusing, so let's just go ahead with this proper, or rather easier to understand method. So to explain what exactly is going on here, we have MD. Now MD stands for medium screen. We have LG, which means large screen. We have XS, which means small screens. Now Tailwind has responsive Tailwind has responsivity built with in mind. That is, the developers of Tailwind want your elements to be responsive. That is, it has responsive behavior built into it. So we have different screen sizes. So if you want your element to look somehow on a particular screen size, you can set it up here. And if you want it to look smaller on a particular screen size, you can also specify. For this, we're going to start simple. We want it to flex on a medium sized screen. Now space X1, to make this as easy as possible, this is just trying to say we should put an average space of 0.25 rem between each element, and items should be centered within the nav. I'll put some elements in here for us to have a bit of idea of what I'm saying. So let's just start with A. Let's just give it this, and let's just put home. I'll just put a bunch of elements, and we'll see how it looks. About, okay, and so now as you can see, let me show you what I'm saying talking about. We have some items in the menu bar. Now, these items we have in the menu bar don't look properly designed. They look awkward. They look weird. So we want to do something about that. We want them to be properly spaced. So let's dig into that quickly. So now, first off, how about making this perhaps have a white color? Now, let's just say text. Oh boy. So let's just say maybe text white, and we also do the same thing down here. Okay, all right, so let's see what goes on. And we have all of them white. Now we want to add a bit of spacing, but for each element we want there to be spacing amongst the elements. So here's how we're going to do that. All right, so we want the text to be bigger, so the next thing to do is this. So let's start with padding. Let's put some padding in between these elements. So I'm just going to do a nifty trick in VS Code. Control Alt plus down arrow, because I want to type pretty much the same thing. So, oh shit, sorry about that. Okay, so I added padding. Now as you can see, if you notice, there's now a bit of spacing between the elements. So the next thing we would obviously want to do would be to make the elements, have a bit of padding. So py2, just a minute, I'll explain what exactly is going on here. Okay, now we can see now the elements are more centered right now, right? Now let me explain what exactly this is. Px, now p on its own actually means just padding, and this will apply padding all around the element. But when you specify x alongside the p, we're referring to horizontal component. For instance, for those of us familiar with the things like x-axis and y-axis, x-axis typically specifies horizontal, y-axis typically represents vertical. So x is representing horizontal, that is left and right sides. So you can use that idea. So px will add padding to left and right side of the element. Same thing py does, but the opposite. Py is up and down, top and bottom. It adds padding with top and bottom. Now you might be wondering, is there a way, what if I want to specify a custom value for these values you're seeing here, like this 0.5 rem, 0.5 rem? Perhaps the value you have in mind is not supported by default by Tailwind. There's a simple approach you can use. This is what you do. Get a bunch of square brackets like this and put in the actual value you want, like 2.34 rem, if that is what you want, and you find it that it's applied already. But of course, that's not what we want. So we can revert back to the regular one. Now, the approach of entering in your custom values is not exactly recommended. It's much better for you to stick with the original and default values, that Tailwind comes with. It is not advised to do that all the time. You should only do that a few times in your web page, right? So, one more thing, it would be better if this was spaced, justify center. And now we have the elements spaced in the middle, right? Home, about, contact, refer. Now we want to add a bit of you know over effects. To do that, very easy. All you have to go about this, you just have another Tailwind class utility over, then green, then you specify the color you want over text. Let's say purple. I'm a big fan of purple apparently. Text purple 500. And because we're using live server, the changes are saved automatically. Now, perhaps purple is not a good idea to use since the navbar has a background color of purple, obviously. Silly me, I didn't think about that. So let's change this to something like, for now, just pick red. Sorry about my poor color choices. I'm not so good at combining colors, but bear with me for now while I take you through the raw basics. So now as you can see, we have over specified here. So let's do the same for all other parts of this. And now we have the hover effect on every of this. Now you might be wondering, what about if I want to make this text bigger than it is? That's also easy. Let's go there. Now the next thing to do could be font. And let's just make this font, let's make this semi bold, and let's do the same thing right here font semi-bold. It's quite annoying writing this repetitively. So that leads me to tell you also, just keep it in mind that.
So yes, right now, if you can see what's going on, you can see that the menu bar is still just about the way we left it, and we probably want to add some other features to this menu bar. So let's see how we can go about that. So let's say that, and we want to add a placeholder to to the edge of the menu, so it won't just be blank. So we'll add a placeholder right about that, right about this place. So let's get about doing the placeholder. So first, we're trying to create a flex, a div first actually, then assign a flex class utility to it, and so that it can flex, and also add a flex row to it, so that they will be both be on the same line horizontally. And yeah, that's about what we're going to do here right now. Then we can cut, yes, then we can put it in the div we just created, and let's see how that works out, and add the placeholder right away.
I have the placeholder already set in place. So for now, it's just going to be a simple quantum builder placeholder text. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of space in between it. So let's do that. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it this way. I'm going to make it MR5. MR meaning margin right. And that 5, you can see what will happen. And now there's a bit of space, but I still want a bit more. So I'm going to increase this to 10. And okay, now that's better. As you can see, margin right. So there's a bit of margin right already. So that looks decent to me. And next thing we want to do, next thing we probably want to do is this. We want to see how it looks on a smaller screen. So now, although this is not bad, but you can see already that the refer link is already gone. So we need to make this responsive. We need to make the links adapt to this screen size. So this is where you start to apply a bit of responsiveness that Tailwind ships with. So let's start it. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing code for a small button. This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy the code because I don't want us to waste a lot of time, but I'll quickly explain what exactly is in there. Alright, so this is the code for the button. As you can see, it's a div and it's wrapped the button is wrapped around the div. Let's just see what it looks like. Now this is looking weird. So first issue that we need to resolve is we need to make sure that this section, or rather this, doesn't show up on a smaller screen. So this is what we're going to do. First, we're going to make it hidden by default. Now when we make it hidden, let's see what happens. Okay, now as you can see, it is hidden by default. Now even on a large screen, it's hidden, which is not the behavior we want, obviously. So this is how we're going to do it. So because hidden applies to all screen properties, which means on every single screen, both small, medium, and large, it is hidden. To solve that issue, this is what we do. We put the MD constructor like this. MD, specify MD Now, just a minute, I'll quickly explain what this means. So, what this means is that on medium screens, from medium screens to large screens to extra large screens, these properties are going to take place. But on every other screen smaller than a medium screen, it will be hidden. Now, let's look at it. Now, it's hidden on a small screen. Let's start gradually increasing the size, and as you increase the size, you see that this actually appears. And if you also notice, the button disappears. Now keep increasing it to show, but let's start reducing, and it disappears. Appears, disappears, and the button shows up. Now the next behavior we want to configure is we want the button to move, or rather to be somewhere here. So let's do that. So I think the best way to do that, or well, not the best way, but there are several ways of doing stuff in CSS. So I think we should wrap the placeholder and the button itself in one another div. So let's just do like this. Dot flex dot justify between. I'll explain what this means. So just bear with me. Justify between. Now you're going to take this div, this particular placeholder div, and the button, cut it, place it in here, and let's first of all see what it looks like. Now, of course, it's already separated, but it's too joined to the sides. We need to put some spacing, probably some padding for this button, and probably make it a bit bigger. Now let's see what's happening. Now you notice something. The many elements refuse to show. Now we have to figure out how to make it display. So let's figure that out. Okay, so sorry, I made a mistake. So apparently I shouldn't have I put this div outside of the flex row class, this class. So that is one of the issues. So let me bring this back in here. Okay, sorry for the confusion. I hope you guys are not confused. So let's cut it now properly, or rather Control X. Put this in here and let's see what's up. And let's try this, and it is still working properly. So now we notice that the justify between. Now what is justify between? Justify between basically puts a large space in between two elements, which means it spaces them completely apart. If there are three elements, it divides the space in between equally. So that is justify between. Puts a space in between two or more elements, equal space between two or more elements. So in order to make this work, let's add. Alright, so the solution to that issue is making the flex property of this div, making it start at medium screens. So once we have anything less than a medium screen size, this takes place. So as you can see, it's working now. Now as you expand, this comes into place. Now we want this button to be a bit bigger and some padding. Okay, so let's work on that. So let's do it this way. This is the div for the button. Alright, so let's add a margin right. Let's see. Okay, that gives it a bit of spacing, and let's increase the width and the height. Let's make this 8, and let's make this 8. So I think that looks much better. I think I should increase the height of this menu bar. So let's go about that. Let's make this 14. Okay, and now you notice the items are not so in the center. So let's fix that. Let's fix that. So item center, justify item center, and yeah, no. Okay, so this looks pretty okay, and it's coming together quickly. So now next thing we need to do is we need to work on making the menu bar actually work. We need to be able to click on it and let it actually display a drop down menu, and it displays something down here. So we need to implement that function right away. So yeah, that's the next phase. Yep. So okay, yeah, nothing much has changed. If you look at this, I just created a div. Now pay attention to this, everyone. I created a div. I set it to be hidden from anything larger than a medium screen upwards, and gave it a class name of mobile menu, and give a background color. The container, this is the main container of the menu on the mobile, right? I gave it a background color of gray, and I gave it a margin top of 0.5 rem. Now, after doing that, I created a list URL first. Now inside there, I created some list items. Now under the list items, you see some links. As you can see here, let's actually change them to reflect. So let's just make this about, and let's make this contacts, contacts, contact, and let's make this refer. Now there's no big deal here. There's nothing that you don't understand. So block, what block exactly means is, rather than having them on a, a row, block ensures that the elements are arranged in a vertical order. So that's what block is for. That's why you can see block on all the link items. So text, this is just the size of the text, this padding, and this is the hover color. And this is a property we've not talked about, but transition allows you to create simple animations. Tailwind supports animations. So if you want to declare an animation, maybe you want a property to animate over time, you put the transition utility class first, and the next thing will be the duration. So which means when a hover effect is applied, it will apply, over time within 300 milliseconds. It won't just, the hover effect won't just come on immediately. It would gradually come on within 300 milliseconds. So there's nothing crazy here. So if you look at this now, you find out that it's actually working. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, you click on this, it opens. Now you might be curious, what's making this button actually work? It's JavaScript. So this is how we did it. So let's come to this JavaScript file first. Let's take a look at the JavaScript file here. So what I first did was I declared a variable btn, then using standard JavaScript selector, query selector, I picked one of the buttons, that is the menu button. So if you come here to the HTML file, you see that the button has a class name of mobile menu button. As you can see here, mobile menu button. So I selected that element. If you're familiar with a bit of JavaScript, you know that this is standard. This is a standard way of selecting a, or rather an element. After doing that, I assigned another variable menu. This particular variable is assigned to this one. So this menu class here. So this entire div element is what is referenced right here. So after doing that, I added an event listener, that is an event listener waiting for a click method So whenever the menu button is clicked, it toggles the value of this element, this entire element here, which is what enables the menu to show and also enables the menu to be hidden. Now, one more thing that might seem confusing is this. How is it that as you move as the screen width increases, it increases and boom, it disappears. So this is what is happening. MD, which is that is that, and so we have a basic menu up and running. So one last thing I also want to add is I want to add something like a login button or a get started button that will be somewhere here. And I think that will be just about it for the menu bar. And yeah, let's see how that will go. All right. All right, guys. So the next thing we want to try and do is we want to add a get started button somewhere around here. So to make this faster, I feel like the video has been going way too long, so I'm going to try to speed things up since I've already explained the basics. So we'll move a bit faster from now. So yeah. So I've already designed the button earlier, so I'll just quickly explain what the button is. So let's go about that. So now, right now, this is seems like a lot of code, but we'll explain every of these properties real quick. So let's see what it looks like. Now we have a get started button. Now, as we can see, we don't want this to be somewhere here. We want it to move to somewhere around here, this get started button. But before we do that, let me quickly explain what the button is all about. Basically, you notice we're not using a typical button element like good old HTML. Of course, you can go ahead and do that, but it's all a matter of choice, really. But I'd rather use this as my own button. So let me just remove this link for now. Let's just not link anywhere. Target blank. Okay. So what this means is, first, it is hidden by default on smaller screen. That is anything less than a medium-sized screen. The get started button is not seen. Alright. Now, on medium screens, it has a display value of block, large screens, extra large block, and we have padding on left and right sides of 1.25 frame, padding top 0.5 frame. Now I think I might want to increase this a little bit. Let's make this PY4. Let's see, to bring it a bit, to give it a bit of space. Okay. um I think we should leave it at PY2. I think it's okay at that, or maybe PY3 should be good enough. And yes, now we notice something, that I feel like this menu bar is a little too small, or what do you guys think? Yes. Now there's something I want to do. As you can see, I want to increase the height of the menu bar itself to make it accommodate the elements properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this from H14 to, let's say, H20, and that's about a height of 5 frames. So that's what it looks like. Now this looks not properly arranged, so we're going to have to do something about that. So let's see what we're going to do about it. All right. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to increase, or rather give this a padding, right? I'm going to give this a padding. Should it be this or rather this? Let's see what goes on. MDPY4, and let's see what this looks like. Okay, this is looking a bit better. Yes. Okay, now we can see something. PY4. Okay, so I believe I've rectified the issue with the button. So the next thing we want to do is we want to move this button to somewhere around here. So in order to do that, let's just give this a margin. Perhaps let's give this margin right of 20. Let's see what that gives us. Or rather, sorry, margin left. Okay, we need to increase that. Let's make this 40. Let's make this 60. So we're just playing around with the values. I don't think there's a 60. Is there 60? Okay, so a better way of doing this rather than using a margin right here, I figured that we could just, instead of all of that, we could just come all the way to this div right here and give it a justify between. So this will put in some spacing here just like this. Now this is not perfect yet, so let's just give it a bit of margin right, so push it a little bit. So yeah, this is how we're going to go about it. Let's go down here and give it a margin right of, let me just say 10 for now. Let's see what that looks like. And okay, I think that's just about nice. Okay, so responsive, it's working. Okay, I think this is good enough. Yep, I think this is good enough. Yeah, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be working on the content real quick. We're just going to, do something simple, and I'll just show you an example of rather, what we can put here as content, what some of us will know as hero section. So let's start with that. All right. So guys, let's take a look at this. As you can see, take a look at what this looks like. This is not exactly what we're going to be building, but it will be something similar. Um, so let's take a look at what this is. So now we can say the hero text, build your apps or websites with us. So we're going to be put this first, then we're going to add this text right underneath and add an image here. So we're going to be doing something like this. We'll let this be something like a introductory section. Now, as we scroll, we notice there's also another section. So first to get done with this part of it. So let's see what this is going to look like. All right. So let's go back here. Now we're not going to exactly follow how this is. We're just going to use it as more or less of a guide. So do you understand? That's what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and do something. All right. So here. Okay guys, so let's move all the way after this header. Next thing we're going to do is this. So first we're going to start with a section. So a section. Now of course, for now I will give this a background color yet. This is just going to be a section right away. So you might be wondering, what exactly is this? Remember, Tailwind has built-in support for Teams. So I just want to quickly tell us what this is about. So you see this utility here saying dark. This condition here, or rather this color, applies only when the device that your website is going to be displayed on is in dark mode. If the device is in light mode, this won't work. Rather, it will have a default background of white. You can also set what color you want. If you want it to be light, you can set maybe BJ white, if that is what you want. So this will apply on a light screen. All right. Oh, sorry, you don't need to specify a color for that. All you just need to do is just put BG white, and this will automatically be the default for light theme devices. So that is what I just wanted to say. All right. Okay guys, as you can see, I've added two more divs. There's an outer div and we have an inner div. Now I'm sure you're wondering, what exactly does this mean? When we start adding elements, you understand better. So let's first off just add these divs, and yeah, follow along and we'll understand why these divs are actually here. Okay. Alright guys, so right now I've just added some text elements. First I added a large and bold text saying we build the best custom pieces. Let's see what this looks like. We build the best custom pieces. This is the first text we see on the website. Now, as you can see, it has this gray, this grayish blue background. We could leave it, and we could also not leave it, but I don't think we could leave it. I'm not sure this looks good visually, but yeah, let's leave this for now. Okay, I think we should make the app bar wider. It should fill up the screen. Let's do that quickly. So we can just remove this max width. So that max width doesn't allow the app bar fill up the screen. So okay, this is looking actually nice. I think one thing we can do is we could make this color purple, red, then purple. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm not going to do much explanation on the text because they're just basic things that we've already seen earlier on. Take a look at it. All right, so um, let's see. Let's make this custom red. So in order to do that, we can create a span element. Span. Then take the custom, wrap it in here. Now, next thing to do would be to give it some decorations. Yeah, all right, let's do that. We could also just what we could do is just copy this text purple 500, just put this in here. Could remove this and make this red instead, red. And let's see what this looks like. We build the best custom PCs. Okay, once again I apologize for the colors. I am not the best at combining colors, so in case this looks horrible, you can always switch up the colors. Bear with me. Let's just learn the basics. All right, so let's see what this looks like on a smaller screen. Okay, so now we notice a problem. Okay, it's not really a problem actually, but we can see that the menu bar is actually you know it's displaying. It's meant to cover this text. Actually, that's the expected behavior, and we do not want that, so we need to find something to do about it. Okay, so let's work on that. So right away, it is a very easy fix. All we have to do is make the menu bar relative. So this is relative to this part of the page. So what this means is it is placed directly on top of it. Do you see that? Okay, that looks decent. Not the best, but it looks decent. And okay, so that looks okay. So one more thing is perhaps this what do we call it now? The width of this entire thing is, well, for me it's looking a little bit off. I don't know about you guys, but it looks a bit too wide. So I'm thinking of reducing it. Okay. Or we could leave it. Let's not stress it too much. We could leave it as it is. It's not terrible. It's okay. So I think that's okay for this part. This is just pretty basic. I'm sure we all understand everything that's been going on right about here. So I think this looks cool. So I think we should add an image, just something simple, just to fill up the empty space. Let's just add an image about I don't have. I'll try and find something we could add there. Okay. So guys, I added this image, and it's an SVG. Just a picture of a guy with a laptop, And here, this is what we have here. We built the best custom pieces. Okay, so I think we should put a bit of space in between this text and the image itself. So let's just do that quickly. Let's see how we're going to go about that. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's just give it a bit of margin bottom of let's make this 5. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, I think that's just enough. So build the best custom pieces. I think it'll be nice if this menu bar is sticky. That is, it sticks to the top. That will look nice, I think. So to do that, what we just need to do is go to this and give it something like sticky top, sticky, and let's see. Okay, I think we need to add sticky top. Let's see. Wow. Okay, so maybe we should leave that out. Let's not spend a whole lot of time on that. So let's just move to something else. All right. So we built the best custom pieces. So looking at this, let's see what we have next. A very important part. Okay, this is another part. So we're going to be learning how to build grids and also making those grids responsive. Now, if you look at this, you can see that it becomes a colon, a grow, and you see it keeps adjusting as the screen width increases or decreases. So next thing we want to do is we want to do something like this. So we create another section, perhaps give it a different color. So let's try and do something similar. Okay, so let's do something similar. So what we need to do is we declare another section. I'm going to just close this up. All right. So make things look cleaner. So the next thing is we need another section, give it a class. Okay. Let's give this bg. Let's just say bg. I'm not sure of the color to give this. Let's just give this a shade of red. Not sure how this is going to look, but let's work with this. So let's see what we're going to do. So looking at this, we want to do this. Why should you build your apps with us? Or why should we build your custom pieces? Why should we build your PC for you? That's what we're going to write here. So let's not waste too much time. We can use the idea here. So let's just get a hold of this. All right, we can copy this, Control C, and we'll cut, remove the parts we don't actually need. We can remove the image right now. We can remove this P and then replace this with Y. Should we build your next custom PC? Okay, let's see what that looks like. Now this color is looking repulsive. I don't know about you guys, this color is looking really repulsive. It's not looking nice. So um let's make this blue 800. Hopefully this looks, I doubt it will look any much better. Okay, no, I don't like what this color. So I changed the color to this. I think this looks better. So let's put some space in. Why should we build your next custom PC? Okay, so why should we build your next custom PC? So, all right. Next up, we want to now you notice next up. Okay, we need to put a question mark here. Why should we build your next custom PC? Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to implement the grids. As you can see here, grids. We have how many grids here? So for this, we're just going to implement 4 grids. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to see how we can do that. All right. So let's get into that. All right, guys. I decided to just like get the div we need because I don't want to spend all the time typing all of this out. So I hope you guys are gonna understand. So just pay attention here. The grid system in Tailwind is pretty similar to the ones in Bootstrap in other CSS frameworks you might be familiar with. So let's just pay attention to this. So here's how this works. The first thing you need is to declare a grid class. That's the first thing. You got to first off write out a div, give it a div class of grid. Now we must be thinking, hey, what's up? What's going to happen after declaring a grid class? The very next thing you need to do is you need to specify how many columns we want this grid to have. Now, we have grid equals 1, which means it has a column of 1, which is what we are seeing right here. Sorry, not this, here, right here. As you can see, it has just 1 column and everything is arranged here. But now, if you look at the code, you see something here. You see LG grid equals 2, MD grid equals 2. What this means is just, this is where the responsiveness comes in. This here is just signifying that on any screen that is anything, you know, greater than, or rather, that starts from 768 pixels upwards will have 2 colons. This is what this signifies. But anything lesser than 768 pixels will have 1 column. Do you understand? And from MD, LG, and extra large, they all have 2 colons. That's what this means. Now we see something here, gap of 8. This is just the spacing between the grids, that is the vertical spacing. If you look at this here, you see that there's some spacing in between this grid. Is this gap that controls it. All right, the spacing. Now this spacing of gap 8 only applies on anything lesser than 768 pixels. Now all of these properties that have no maybe Excel or MD or anything attached to it. Yes. Alright guys, so the next thing we need to know about, okay, margin top, which is just what gives it some spacing. As you can see, between this and this, that margin top. So on larger screens it has a higher, greater margin, and also it has more gap on larger screens and columns of 2. So let's move quickly and let's do this now. If we come to our own project, you can see well-defined cost, as you can see. So let's change the text that is here. For now, I really don't have a lot in mind to use for this, so I'm just going to use lorem 30 for now. Just lorem 35, just placeholder, if you feel me. And that's what we have, well-defined cost. Now let's quickly explain what's going on here. You can see this is just a div. This div is this entire container, this whole thing, well-defined cost. Now div. Now the div has a class of flex. flex call, which means because there are two items in this div, there's the header and the content. So that's why we need to have a colon. Then item center. All of the items are centered within this div padding. Then there's some space. You can see there's a bit of space between this and this. That space between the columns. So we also have text center, to align the text to the center and the background color of gray. Now we can see BG gray 100 and BG gray 800. Now I'm going to show you us something, but first let's open up our file. Okay, now we are seeing an issue on the large screen. This is an issue, so we're going to fix this just in a minute. Just a minute now. Just give me a bit. I want to show you guys something. So Control Shift I on Edge, I think. So let's see what this looks like. Something I want to show us. I'm not sure where it is. Alright guys, so this is what I wanted to show us. Prefer color scheme light. Now you see what this looks like on light screens. Now this is not looking great. This is an issue. We could leave this as it is, but I feel like we should give it a bit of background color. So let's quickly fix this issue. Alright, let's fix this issue. It's not a big issue, it's not a big deal, but I think if it has a background color, it will look better on light screens. So let's see what we can do about that. Okay, so for this, we're going to give it on normal screens. Let's just give it BG gray, maybe 500. Okay, or let's make it lighter, 300. And for this, I think we could make it gray, or rather, um, let's give it a, yeah, let's leave it as white. Doesn't really matter to me. And okay, so now this is what it looks like on the light screen. Of course, you can change these colors, please. The emphasis of this tutorial is not really the design or the course. I'm just trying to, teach you Tailwind really. So yeah. So okay. All right. So I just said I need to show you that, and yeah, let's get on with it. All right. Now let's go on. All right. Smaller screens. Smaller screens. Okay. So let's add another item. So no need to stress myself. I'll just copy this again. To see, place it here, 2, 3, 4, and there we go. We have 4. Oh no, what a mistake. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, okay. It's just this guy we want to copy. Control C, Control V. Okay, Control V and Control V. I just copied and pasted it 4 times or 3 other times. Okay, you still have an issue. Okay, I think that's done. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's just change some of the. Okay, so let's see what this looks like on a larger screen. And here we can see a bit of a problem. The width on a large screen is not that wide, So let's make it a bit wider. So let's see what that will look like. So we need to go to the settings, not settings actually. So let's go in there and see what we need to do. I believe the issue we have here is this. So the issue, or rather, the what was giving us issues was because of this max width. So this max width was what was preventing it from, you know, expanding. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a max width of 100 rem. Let's see what that looks like. And that looks just enough. As you can see, keep sizing till, and I think this looks just okay. So I hope you understood this section about grids. Grids are very simple in Tailwind to work with. So I hope we all had fun with grids. Okay, so you can always replace the text in here just because I don't really want to, waste a whole lot of time changing what is in here. Just let's just leave it this way. And last thing I think we can work with is to perhaps do something like this. Join us and get updates. So most times the website has a call to action section, which this is somehow like that. So let's just do something like this quickly, very quickly. So yeah, this is what this is about. So next thing we need to declare a section, give the background color of white on light theme devices, and it will have a darker background on dark themed devices. And let's get our div up and running. So this guy, okay. Um, so I already wrote this code earlier, so I don't want to start writing all of this again. So here's the encompassing div. This is the div that wraps around everything here that is within the section. It's a container, you know, flexible with padding. This is makes it centered, and I believe you understand what's going on here. These are just stylings for the text, and yeah. So okay, what more do we need to look at? Yeah, what else is there to look at? Think this is looking good. Okay, this is looking okay. Okay, I think this is okay. This is nice. This is nice. This is nice. Hmm. So here we're saying an input actually. So we know what input is for those of us that have experience with HTML already. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about this. So yeah, I just want to quickly get this done with. So okay, and let's just get the footer section done with. Footer section. Let's get it done with. Let's get it done with quickly. All right, guys. I just quickly designed this footer. Nothing complex. So yeah, home contact and about, home contact and about, and it resides through a colon, home contact about. So basic footer, and so let's quickly go over what this footer is about. As some of us may be familiar with, a footer typically represents things like at the last part of the website. It's, as you can see, it has links, and it talks about copyright and the person who excuse me, person who we know what a footer is anyway. So we have an encompassing div, and you can see the properties, all properties we are familiar with: container, flexible, padding, mxl to which centers things. Okay, and we have a list of links and just a couple of stuff like that. So yeah, that makes up the footer, and yeah, I think that's a wrap. We're done with this little website we just did today, and I think this looks nice, reasonably nice. I'm sure we've learned a whole lot of things from from grids to menus to padding to centers to positioning to a whole lot of things. And so yeah, if you have any questions, you just put it in the comment section. I will do my best to answer them, and you guys can tell me what other things you'd like to learn. I'm actually thinking about starting a Flutter series. So although it's not going to be a tutorial like beginner tutorial, we're just going to be building simple applications and integrating things like Firebase with it and stuff like that. So that's in the plans. So I'm not sure yet, but you guys tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Um, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you're if you're new to the channel, please. As you can see, this is a new channel. I need you guys to encourage me to subscribe, to share, to like, and and as our subscribers grow and our likes increase, there will be more and more tutorials. Yeah, and I hope we have enjoyed this. I guess it's a bit long, but this is geared towards beginners. So all right, thanks guys. Cheers.